What if relying on brands is actually the real reason you're missing out on sales? Because you see, most people, they're out there looking for the same names, the same labels, the same good brands. And that's exactly why they feel stuck. They walk past so many items, second guessing what to pick up and leaving money behind without even realizing it. But what if you didn't need brands at all? What if you could walk in, look at an item, and instantly know it's worth selling just based on the style? Well, my name is LeeMeier. I've made over 100,000 net profit selling used clothes, and I help people stop second guessing and start making real income. And one of the biggest shifts that changed everything for me was learning how to source based on style instead of brand. And by the end of this video, you're gonna know the exact styles, the aesthetics, and the trends that are selling right now. So you can start recognizing what's worth listing no matter the brand. And we're starting with some of the most dominant styles in resale right now. First up is artsy, and this is anything with a little bit more of an artistic look to it. This is a cardigan sweater with carousel horses on it, and it's from the brand Storybook Knits, and it went full price, $64. Next up is cyber, and this works for anything that has a little bit more of a futuristic look to it. Think metallics and anything with a more interesting silhouette. This is a jacket that fits really well with that cyber look, and it sold $90 full price. Biker, and it does not have to be straight up motorcycle Harley Davidson. This is a pair of moto jeans from the brand Diesel, listed at $70, sold for $50. Regency or Regency core. These terms are increasing because of shows like Bridgerton. Think corsets, lace, floral, ball gowns. This is a Regency-inspired ball gown from a brand that probably nobody is searching for, but it sold because of the look and the words used, Regency. It was listed at $90 and went for $60. If you're wondering how to figure out how much items actually sold for on eBay, I have a video I'll link to up here for you. Log and look. These are items that are very oversized, loose, and it actually translates to meaning layered. This is a pair of pants that fit with the log and look style, and it's from a brand called Matchpoint, listed for $75, sold for $52, best offer. Before we keep going, if you'd love to be able to have a list of these types of words to get clothing items sold, I actually have a free keyword list that you'll find in the description below this video. Whimsy goth. This one is probably one of the fastest rising looks when it comes to fashion. Think lace-up details, velvet, bell sleeves. This is a dress from a brand that's called High Fashions. Again, not a brand that a lot of people are going to be searching for. It's got that beautiful lace-up detail at the back. And because of the look, because of the keyword used, it was listed at $160 and went for $150, best offer. Another keyword that's really trending is fairy. This works well for anything that's maybe sheer or has an asymmetrical hem. This is a sheer top, and this one actually happens to be from the brand Coldwater Creek, which usually doesn't hold its resale value too well, but the items that are selling well from that brand are items that have a certain style or aesthetic to them. Like this one where they used the keyword of fairy. It's also got bell sleeves, which are huge right now when it comes to this trend, and it sold $58 full price. Dopamine. This is dressing with your clothing to give the intention of spreading joy. I kid you not. And with this look, you're going after things that are bright and fun. These are a pair of ankle boots in a very unusual, fun color, purple, where they use the word dopamine, listed at $68, and they went for $55, best offer. Grandpa or Grandpacore. This is a keyword that has been popular for a while, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. This works well for any kinds of knits, cardigan sweaters, even pleated dress pants. This is a cardigan sweater where they used the word Grandpacore in their title, and it sold $59 full price. Quiet luxury. This is one that you can use for more understated items that just exude luxury without having huge brand names emblazoned across them. This is a women's overcoat with the quiet luxury look and those words used in the title, and this sold full price $70. Before we get to this next one, if you're ever feeling stuck wondering what clothes are actually worth selling, that's exactly one of the things that I help people with inside of the Empowered Reseller membership. Inside, you get a clear path for what actually works, live training, personal help when you need it, and a really supportive community, all geared around helping you be able to bring in more consistent sales on a daily basis. If that sounds like something you'd like, just click the link below and we'd love to have you join us. Hawaiian is another hugely popular look right now, whether it's button-up shirts or dresses. This is a men's button-up shirt with palm trees and hula girls. It was listed for $75 and it sold for $60. Blokecore. This is one that works really well when it comes to men's items, especially if they have a little bit of a soccer look to them or are even jerseys. Think jerseys, baggy jeans, and Adidas Sambas. This is an Umbro jersey with the word in the title Blokecore. It was listed for $110 and it sold for $85. Cosby, believe it or not, is huge when it comes to sweaters. Think anything that's knit, colorful, and textured. This is a Cosby style sweater from a brand called John Ashford, listed for $95 and it went for $60. By the way, if you ever have trouble remembering these terms when you go to write up your titles, I have a style poster that can help with this. I'll link to that somewhere on your screen. Boho. This is a staple when it comes to selling fashion, and it's probably one of the most searched terms. This is a cardigan from Free People with a boho sort of look to it. Ruffle layers there around the hem, listed for $86 and it went for $70 best offer. Festival. This works for anything that you might picture somebody wearing to a festival. A lot of times items are loose, maybe have a floral design or have fringe. Like this jacket with fringe and beadwork, suede leather. It's from a brand called Phase 2 that probably nobody has heard of, listed for $80 and it went for $75 on offer. Old money. This is one that can be very similar to quiet luxury, but with old money, these tend to look like they're for somebody of maybe more mature age. This is a suit set from Ellie Tahari. It was listed for $100 and it sold for $85 best offer. Romantic. This is one that is also being widely searched right now, and you can use romantic for anything that's maybe pink, has lace, has ruffles, has a feminine look to it. This is a slip dress from the brand Jones of New York. It is an older item from around the 90s or Y2K where the keyword romantic was used, and this sold full price for $75. Rave. Think anything that might be worn for going out. Anything that's brightly colored, looks like you're headed out to hit up the club. Not that I know anything about that. This is a crop top from essentially a no-name brand that has a sort of rave kind of going out vibe to it. It sold full price for $80. If you have any ocean-themed items or you come across ocean-themed items, that's another really big seller. Whether it's got a lighthouse, fish, or whales, go ahead and pick it up. Of course, check comparable sales first. This is a hand knit sweater with the ocean theme from a brand called Barrack. It's got that whale on it there. This sold $120. Horse or equestrian theme. This is another thing that is hugely popular. This is a horse themed sweater from a brand that's called Design Options, and this one sold full price $90. Kawaii. These are things that are pastel, have a very soft look to them, and oftentimes incorporate animals like cats or dogs or pandas into the design. With these, basically brand does not matter at all. This one happens to be from a brand called Eagle's Eye with cats on it. It was listed for $135 and it went for $80 best offer. Avant-garde. This can be used for anything that's a little more unconventional. This is a gorgeous leather jacket in white leather, listed for $139 and it went for $100 on best offer. Preppy. This is a good one that fits with items that are a little bit more on the school or varsity or Ivy League look of things. This is a Henley top from Abercrombie and Fitch. It was listed for $135 and went for $80. Very similar to Preppy is Academia. This works well for anything that's cable knit, houndstooth, or plaid. Think sweater vests and layering, even mini skirts. This is a knit sweater from Ralph Lauren, and it sold full price $110. Much like the keyword biker is moto. Moto actually tends to be a little bit more used term when it comes to more fashion-sided items. This is a moto jacket from a brand that's called Zoni Inc., and it sold full price $95. Steampunk. This is Industrial Revolution meets the Victorian era. This is a button-up blouse, lots of buttons. You're gonna see lots of metal detailing with this steampunk look. It's also got a lace-up back. Fits the steampunk look perfectly. Listed for $127, sold $121. Heritage. This works for anything that just has a classic, timeless look to it. This is a coat in houndstooth pattern from Zara. It was listed for $145 and sold for $110. Art to wear. This is more intentional than just artsy. If something looks more like a piece of artwork than just regular old clothes, you'll definitely want to use this phrase. This is an art to wear jacket listed for $270 and it sold for $150. Western. This is another huge seller when it comes to the look of items. Items don't have to be from a certain brand to sell well with this look. And this was a Western style jacket in tapestry, listed at $125 and it went for $106 best offer. Rainbow items are flying off the shelf right now. If it's colorful and it's got stripes, it's gonna sell. This is a ski jacket from LeeMeier. It sold $140 full price. Rockabilly. This is a big one when it comes to men's items. This is a pearl snap shirt from the brand H-Bar-C and it sold $125 full price. Fair Isle. Items with this look sell year after year. This is a sweater from J. Crew with Fair Isle stripe and it sold full price $148. Nautical. This is a little bit more understated than just ocean theme. This is one to use with stripes, double-breasted jackets, anything that has a little bit more of a nautical theme. This is a striped blazer jacket from the brand Smith and it sold full price $135. Mob Wife. This has to be one of my favorite and this works well for anything that's fur or animal print. This is a faux fur jacket in animal print. It sold full price $179 and it's from a vintage brand called Russell Taylor, a brand that probably nobody is looking for, but it sold because of the look. Punk. This is a great keyword for anything that's more rebellious and edgy. This is a leather jacket with spiky metal studs. It's actually an unbranded jacket listed for $250 and it went for $143 best offer. Coquette. This is romantic but more playful. This is a mini dress from a little searched for brand called Masquerade and it went full price $189. Cowichan. These types of sweaters there is a huge demand for and oftentimes animals are incorporated into the design. True Cowichan sweaters are hand knit. Oftentimes they're cardigans and have a shawl collar. This is a Cowichan sweater with an eagle design to it from a brand called the Canadian Sweater Company. It was listed at $185 and went for $155. Goth. Like punk, this one is a little bit more edgy and rebellious, and a lot of the items are black or darker colored. This is a mini skirt from the brand Lip Service and it went full price $150. Nordic is similar to Fair Isle, but it tends to be a little bit blockier, larger design. This is a knit sweater from Ralph Lauren. It does have some wear to it, some marks and some pillings. It's also a lamb's wool and cashmere blend, which helps, and it went full price $200. Thrashed. This is one of the most overlooked keywords that is highly profitable. This is one that you're going to want to use for anything that looks too worn to sell. Whether it's got holes, tears, stains, even paint marks, items are selling for into the hundreds with this word. This is a Thrashed jacket from Carhartt. You can see there around the back of the neck the amount of fraying at that neckline, and it sold full price $225. Victorian is also seeing a big resurgence right now. This is a dress from Laura Ashley with a little bit more of a Victorian look to it with that neckline, and it sold full price $179. Grunge. This is another really good one to use when it comes to items that are a little bit more on the distressed, worn side. This is a pair of Levi's 501s men's jeans, and you can see that those are distressed, have some holes, some marks to them, and this pair of jeans with the keyword grunge went full price $200. Skater is another one that buyers are really looking for right now. This can work really well for jeans and shorts that are on the more baggy side. This is a pair of jean shorts from the brand Menace, and you can see how baggy and wide those are. They actually sold full price $199. Cottagecore. This is a look that just won't die. It continues to stick around year after year, and you can use this for anything that is more floral, looks like it's from the countryside. This is a cottagecore style dress from Gunny Sacks. It's got that lace up detail there, as well as sort of a floral contrasting print. It was listed for $425 and sold for $400. Princess. This is another really overlooked keyword, but it can work for certain types of items. This is a prom dress from a brand that probably nobody is searching for, yet it sold full price $229. Bella Swan, aka Twilight. These types of items, similar to what she wore in the Twilight movies, are selling for crazy amounts, even when they're from low-value mall brands. This is a bomber jacket from Abercrombie & Fitch with a faux fur lined hood. It sold full price $340. Southwestern is another one that can be some really big money. Yes, having a brand like Pendleton can help, but there's plenty of other items selling well with this Southwestern look. This is a Southwestern style Chimayo jacket. This also sold full price $340. Cobain, as in Kurt Cobain, Nirvana. Big money. Cardigan sweaters, either solid or striped, and especially if they're mohair, if they look anything like what he wore, they can sell for into the hundreds. This is a cardigan sweater where that keyword of Cobain was used in the title. It was listed for $572 and it went for $400. Y2K items. This is a hugely encompassing category, but really anything that has that vibe from the 90s, early 2000s era, people are paying crazy amounts for, even if it's an unbranded item or a brand that nobody's heard of. This is a penny lane coat from the Y2K era with faux fur trim, and it sold for $300 full price. Prairie. This is one that's very similar to cottagecore, but this can be used for a little bit wider variety of items. This is a dress from Gunny Sacks where the keywords cottagecore as well as prairie was used. It is damaged, it's tattered, it's got holes, it's got fraying at the hem. It was listed for $595 and it sold on best offer for $550. So now you're starting to see just how powerful style really is. But here's where it gets even better, because some of the strongest styles aren't new at all. In this next section, you're gonna discover the vintage styles that are on the rise. Vintage cargo pants. And these are pants that have those cargo pockets on the side. So we got a pair of Gap here. I'm gonna zoom in on that so you can see it. It's got those cargo pockets up on the upper thigh. That pair sold for $100. We got another pair there that went for $50. But again, it does not have to be a certain brand. A Gap, it probably did not cost that much out of the store, but these are selling for a pretty decent amount when you can find those cargo pockets like that, because that is a really big trend in today's fashion world. So keep your eye out for those cargo pockets. Another item very similar to those cargo pants are what are actually called paratrooper pants. So with these, they're going to be a much lighter weight material and they're going to have more pockets. So we've got Abercrombie. This is a really popular brand when it comes to those paratrooper style pants. Those ones sold for $140. You'll notice that there is a tie around the bottom so that it can be cinched around those ankles. Got a Polo Ralph Lauren one that went for $112. Got another Polo one here that went for $80. So you can see the prices on these are pretty good. This is a Old Navy. This falls under one of those brands that I recommend staying away from for the most part, except for certain instances. And this is one of those instances. So this one went for $40 because it is that style of paratrooper pant with the cinching around the ankle and those cargo pockets and that lighter weight material. So you got another pair of Gap there that went for $90. Another Polo went for $70. So again, keep your eyes out for these. Next item that I've got for you are vintage Nordic sweaters. And so these are sweaters that have any sort of Nordic vibe to them, any sort of Nordic print to them, knitted into the material, not really print, I guess. So I got, looks like some caribou there, got another one with moose on it. Snowflakes are really common with this Nordic style. And so these can sell for quite a bit depending on the material and depending on the brand. So we got Eddie Bauer there. That one went for, looks like $49. This moose one from Ralph Lauren went for almost $200, $186 there. Dale of Norway is a really popular brand in this type of category, and those will sell for $100 to $200. We got, I see one right there for $84. That's kind of a more plain one. If you come across ones that are, see if I can find one in here. If you come across ones that are a little bit more unique design, wild design, those are going to sell for a little bit more. So we got one right here. That one sold for $200. That is an Olympics one that I'm seeing that one went for $200 because of that Dale of Norway again. Next is lace up jeans. With these are so popular right now, and they are big money. So what I mean by lace up is up the where you would find a zipper or snaps that will lace up, or they will also have laces on the sides of the jeans, and it may be just up the lower part of the leg, or it could be the whole length, like the pair that you're seeing here. That one went for $85, and this is by a brand called Mud, which is again like a very low value brand, but it's only selling for that much because of that style. So keep your eyes out for these. We got another lace up there. That one actually does not look vintage to me. We got another one here, 25, another one, $97 there. So keep your eye out for anything with that lace up. They are a little bit harder to find. We got a LEI pair here. So again, another not very high value brand, but it did sell for this much because of that style. And it does look like it's laced down to about the knee and then open from there down. The next brand I've got for you, or next item that I've got for you, are patchwork jeans. And so what I'm specifically talking about with these are jeans where it's like this or it's like this. And so this Xanadu, that's actually a pretty popular brand that made these back in the day, and that they are trending now. So $32, $40, they may sell, even upwards to $60, $80 depending on the size. Got another one there, $38 that one sold for. So keep your eye out for those vintage jeans. Looks like we got another interesting pair there for $35. I've got lots more still to go through, but I do want to mention that if you are enjoying seeing these vintage items to resell for big money, then you're going to want to make sure to check out my newly updated vintage clothing guide, where I give you over 100 different items and brands to be on the lookout for in this very lucrative niche. Next up are Sherpa lined jackets, and I specifically pulled up denim jackets here. And if you find any of these vintage jackets with that Sherpa lining, that is that kind of fur lining, and you'll see that around the collar. Those can sell for right around that $50 to $100 mark. So we got that Levi's there for $47 with also that awesome acid wash. Got American or Abercrombie and Fitch over there that went for $60. And again, it doesn't really matter the brand with this. If you find this Sherpa trim, even in brands that aren't maybe quite so recognizable, go ahead and pick them up. They're still going to be selling for right around that $50 mark. Next, I've got vintage Y2K era purses. You'll see that I did pull out Coach because a lot of items were coming back with that. And what I really want to show you in this video is other brands, maybe not so high-end brands that are selling for a decent amount when it comes to these vintage trends. We got Dulce in here. We've got some other, maybe bigger brands in here. So what I want to actually show you are some brands that aren't quite so big, items that are selling for maybe a little bit more than what you might expect when it comes to the brand, and they're selling for this much just because of the look. We got this one here that went for $60. We got a vintage Gap one here that one probably went for right around that $30 mark. A Guess bag here. This is a really good example of what this looks like in that Y2K era, kind of a rounded baguette style. I'm not exactly sure what you would call that style of purse, but that's kind of what they look like with that more rounded look to them. And that one went for $152 for a Guess purse. And these are selling, again, for a surprising amount. We got another one there, another Guess one that one went for $75. You're seeing a lot of brands in here that are, that you might expect a little bit more for. Here's another unbranded one. That one went for $24 for that, just because of the look. We got a 9 West Half Moon. Okay, that's probably the right style of bag there. That one went for $28, the right style that I was looking for, that name that I was looking for. Next up are vintage denim skirts that are long in length. So we already looked at those micro skirts, but it's not just those micro skirts that are selling well. It's also skirts that are that long floor length, and especially denim skirts. So you're going to see a big variety here of what is selling. So you got one with this button up down it. It says $55 is what it sold for. I am noticing that they did use cottage core. Again, if you are looking at using keywords in your title, which you should be, and all of those different cores, maybe it's hard to keep track of, then you're going to want to make sure that you check out my poster where these will put the keywords right in front of you, so they're right at your fingertips right when you're listing. Got another skirt here that went for $30. $30 to $40 is pretty common for any of these skirts, and you may not think that they're worth a special especially a lot. Got another one here for $36, $38. I do find that a lot of resellers pass these over, and again, it does not have to be any sort of special brand with these. It's more about the look. We got a Studio West one. That one went for $25. Genealogy $42. Levi's one there for about $40. Angel's Denim. So that's a good example of a brand that is not very high value. That one still sold for $25. Next up are Y2K baby tees. So these are super popular, really trending right now. And what these are tight fitting t-shirts, and they have this little small sleeve on them. So it shows a lot of the arm, maybe a little bit of the shoulder. That Abercrombie one went for $25. We got a Twilight one over there that went for $30. But it's really the huge variety that are selling for quite a bit. This one with monkeys on it says "Don't burst my bubble." That one went for $38. But there's all sorts of variety with this one. We got another one over there with that raglan sleeve. That one went for $50. It does look like a Disney baby fat here that went for $20. Got a Janis Joplin ringer t-shirt. That one went for $45. So again, keep your eye out for these types of shirts. The next item that I've got for you are vintage overalls. These have been trending for a while, but they are still hot. They're selling for around that $40 to even $100 mark, depending on what it is. We got a pair of overalls there, $75. Another pair there, $75. Of Liberty is the brand of that one. Got another pair of red wool overalls. That is interesting. That one went for $48. What I was specifically trying to pull up here, and I probably should have put denim, are denim jeans, or denim overalls. This pair, Calvin Klein, that one went for $100. And then the other kind of category that is similar to this is short alls. So short alls, those are just short overalls, and these can sell for quite a bit as well. So we've got the brand Lee. This one sold for $50. We got another one here that has a dog and some flowers on it. So that is really interesting. That one sold for $30. We got a Eeyore one here. So if you do find any Winnie the Pooh, any Disney characters, those can sell for quite a bit. We got a Lady and the Tramp one there. That one went for $36. So these are some pretty interesting items to come across. Next up are denim jumper dresses. And these are kind of similar to those overalls and shortalls that we were just looking at. But what you're going to want to look for with these is that denim that usually sells for a little bit more, and as well as some of those characters that we were talking about. With these, I would suggest using the keyword modest. That can really help. I've also had people buy these for post-surgery because they're easy to put on. So that could be another option for keywords for you. This one right here, I want to point out, this is a Chip and Dale, the little chipmunks from Disney, from the Disney cartoon. That one sold for $100 for that. That was one of my favorite cartoons. Probably not an item that I would buy though. We got another one with cats here on it, on that one. That one sold for $35. So some interesting ones here. We got one that has a little bit more of an overall look to it. That did sell for $50. I see somebody did lot some together, 5 of them for $100. So that is a really good idea with these. We got another Looney Tunes one here, Sylvester and Tweety. That one sold for $30. Next, I've got band t-shirts, and these are crazy popular right now. I am noticing that I am on the women's category. I am going to leave that there just for demonstration purposes, but men's band t-shirts are selling equally as well. And some of these are pretty surprising for how much they're selling for. We've got a Bruce Springsteen one. That one sold for $70. We've got AC/DC there. That's actually not a very big name brand, or a very high value brand, I think is what I'm going for. That one sold for $34, it looks like. Of course, Taylor Swift. There's so many different options here. We got New Kids on the Block there. That one sold for $30 for that. We've got, just all kinds of different, whatever band you can think of, there's probably a market for that. We got a Van Halen one that went for $24. I see that is from Forever 21. We got a Fleetwood Mac for $20. We got Willie Nelson for $39. That one went for. So keep your eye out for those band tees. Next are penny lane coats. So this is a specific style of coat. The other name for it is a Afghan coat. So you'll often see both of those used in the title. And what these are is they have fur trim around the collar as well as the cuffs of the sleeves, and often on the openings as well. And these are hot. These are big money right now. So we got this one here that I just showed you, Y2K. It says brown suede. This was also popular back in the 70s, but that one sold for $200 for a no-name brand. For that one, we got a Guess one there. That one sold for $104. Got another one there for $90. $300 for that one. That one looks like it's probably from the 70s with that leather on it. You got a denim one there. So that is a Y2K one. That one did go for $170, but you can see the prices on these are really good. And there are a lot of items that are selling for that $100, plus mark for these. So keep your eye out for this style of coat. We got one here that's a really good example of that penny lane look. That one sold for $300. Next are vintage muumuus. So with these muumuus, you're going to want to specifically look for items that are made in the USA. Often they are made in Hawaii, and they will say that on the tag. But there's many different brands. Anthony Richards is a popular one. That one sold for $27. We got this vintage orange and green one, Poppies, it looks like. That one sold for $50. Another one here, that one sold for $85. But all different styles. The more unique that it is, obviously, the more it's going to sell for, as well as the bigger sizes do tend to sell for more money as well when it comes to muumuus especially. Next are men's vintage Hawaiian shirts. as well as women's. I'll show you the women's here in a second, but the men's are selling for, you know, right around $30 to $50, depending on the brand, depending on the condition, of course. We got one here that went for $40, another, that's a Tommy Bahama, that one went for $60. Got another Tommy Bahama there for $70. So these can be pretty good things to pick up if you come across them. And then as far as the women's, what these are a little bit shorter cropped shirt. So you got a good example there. That's a Tommy Bahama. That one went for $25. We got a one here that went for $24. Again, it doesn't necessarily matter the brand with these. Another one went for $25 there. It doesn't necessarily matter the brand with these. One of the brands that I keep seeing pop up over and over is this Jams World. So I actually did pull up the tag for you there. It is very 90s kind of look with that. So that is what that looks like if you do come across those. Next are vintage running shorts. And the prices on these are pretty good. So we've got Adidas there that went for almost $64. We got another Adidas over there for about $35. We got some Nike, some more Nike down here, more Nike. Those went for almost $40 for those. Another Adidas for about $40. So some decent prices when it comes to these vintage running shorts. The way that you're going to tell that these are vintage for the most part is that they're going to have that shorter inseam that was really popular. So we got actually Champion here. That one went for $75 for Champion. Here we got another pair of Champion shorts that went for $55. So another good example of maybe not a higher end brand, but still selling for a decent amount. The next item that I've got for you are shiny soccer shorts. That is a mouthful. And what you're looking for with these are that material that is really shiny. It's going to look shiny. It's going to feel shiny. And these, for some reason, there is a market for these. Got Reebok here, went for $25. These Umbro that I just zoomed in on, those ones went for $67. Got another pair of, I guess those are Diadora. Those one went for $25. The prices on all of these are pretty good. We got another pair of Umbro right there. Those went for $65, even with the wrinkles. We got another Nike there with those stripes. Those went for $25. So keep your eye out for those soccer shorts. I'm seeing another pair of Adidas there that went for $60. Next, I've got vintage tearaway pants. So what I mean by these is down the sides of the legs, you are going to see snaps. And so it allows the pants to just kind of be ripped off. So I guess you can get into the game. I'm assuming they're for basketball as well as soccer, but you're going to see these types of pants, and they're selling for right around that 25 to 35, maybe closer to $40 mark for these types of pants if you do come across these. I see a pair there that went for $35, another pair here for $48 those sold for. Next, I've got vintage color block. So this is another one trend that has been trending for a while, that has been popular for a while, but it is still popular. And so I just put in vintage color block. This is all items that come under that category that fall within that search range. So you're going to see a variety of items here. You're going to see everything from polos, that one went for $129, to jackets that went for $85. You're going to see some sweaters in here, even a purse right here, $30. Another jacket here, that one went for $70. But again, this is about the look and not necessarily the brand. So another good example right here, $35 for a no-name brand casual aisle. But what you're looking for with this are those brightly colored patterns and those big blocks of color. That is what color block is. Next are vintage nightgowns. And I did put in nightgowns, but you could also search for vintage lingerie. That's another popular or similar keyword for this. But this did allow me to pull up a few different types of items to be able to show you. So we got a Victoria's Secret there. That one went for $29. The items that I wanted to show you that might be a little bit surprising are these flannel nightgowns. So that one went for $25. We got a Victoria's Secret flannel nightgown. That one went for $29. We got another one over here from LL Bean. That went for $35. So keep your eye out for these older style of sleepwear.
At this point, you might be realizing style is not random. There's patterns to what sells. And those patterns show up across every category, including men's. So in this next section, I'm going to show you some of the key aesthetics that are driving sales right now when it comes to men's clothes.
Men's rockabilly. I am looking on eBay, but these keywords will apply to whatever platform that you're selling on. And then I did pull up sold items, and I do have a minimum price point put in here of about $29. So these are all, over that price point. And rockabilly is really kind of a aesthetic from the 50s, and it can cover a lot of different items like jackets, especially where you're going to see it. And they do have a little bit of maybe a Western look to them. So there's always overlap when it comes to these keywords, and you feel free to use more than one keyword. I would recommend using 3 to 5 keywords for each of your listings. This is an example of a rockabilly style jacket. And this is a brand that's called Scully. And there's the tag there. They make lots of items that are this style. There's what that jacket looks like. You're going to see with this aesthetic a lot of details like what you're seeing up here at the top, as well as these kind of points. That's very common with the rockabilly theme. And this jacket sold for almost $80 or almost $90. And then this is a pair of shoes where that term rockabilly was used, and I think it fits these shoes really well. So you're seeing rockabilly and then creeper. That's another keyword. Those sold for about $80. The next aesthetic that we're going to talk about when it comes to men's fashion, this one also applies to women's. And this one is called Blokecore. It's a little bit hard to describe, so I'm going to show you some pictures of this. But this look is really built around jerseys and then baggier pants. So you're seeing some shorts there, some pants there, and then athletic style shoes of what you're seeing here in these pictures. That's really common for what this look. And again, this can apply to women's fashion as well. It's going to have that same exact look. And then as far as the sales go, this can apply to things like jackets. It can apply to wide leg pants. It can apply to jerseys. And so this is an example of an Adidas jersey where they use this keyword, and that jersey sold for $80. You're seeing it here in the title. And then this is just a plain Adidas jersey. It's not any sort of special team. There's what that tag looks like. It is an older item that is made in the USA. And then that one sold for $40. This next keyword is Art Deco, and this can apply to quite a few men's items, especially ties and other items like maybe belt buckles. I'm seeing there's a belt buckle right there. There's some pocket squares that this applies to. So just some different items when it comes to men's clothing. Again, you're seeing another tie there. And this is a pocket square. This one sold for $78, but it definitely has art deco going on. You're going to see that there in the title. And then this is a button-up shirt where that keyword Art Deco is used. And here's the tag Alan Stewart, and that one sold for $180. This next aesthetic is military, and of course this can apply to actual military items or just items that have sort of a military look for them, like a jacket here, that's a J. Crew, or pants as well if they have sort of a military, maybe cargo pockets, and just have that kind of military look. And then I like to always pull out sales like this where it's just an ordinary brand. This one's American Eagle pair of shorts, but they did use that military keyword on these. These are just cargo shorts, and you'll see their military cargo shorts there in the title. That one sold for almost $50. This is a similar one, Abercrombie and Fitch, and this jacket with that fur trim around the collar, that one sold for $135. Again, there's lots of these keywords, and they're really the magic behind getting your items found in search results and sold. And I know it can be hard to remember a lot of these keywords on the spot as you're typing up listings. So I do have a very helpful resource that is a poster. I'm going to link to it over here, but that can make writing up your titles, descriptions super simple, super fast, and be able to get your items in front of the right buyers. This next aesthetic is Western. And of course, this is going to apply to a lot of boots, but it's going to also apply to a lot of other items like vests, jackets, button-up shirts, and a couple items to show you here. This is a more vintage jacket. David James, I believe, is the brand of that one. So they used Southwest as well as Western there in the title, and then that one went for $60 with one bid on it. And then a pair of Western boots. And of course, there's lots of really amazing boot brands when it comes to Western cowboy style boots, but there's also lots of just kind of no name, maybe smaller companies, and they can still sell for quite a bit So you're seeing Western and Cowboy. That pair of boots sold for $75. And this is a Wrangler men's button-up shirt. There's the tag there. Definitely a vintage tag on this one. It's also got some horses across the front, which is kind of interesting. So this is a Western snap shirt. You're seeing there Western as well as Southwest Cowboy and Aztec. That one sold for $83. This next aesthetic is Grandpacore, and this is really about kind of just coziness, sweaters, sweater vests, even some jackets. And I have actually a jacket to show you. We're going to look at some sweaters first. This is a brand that's called Tundra out of Canada. There's what the sweater looks like. It's definitely a little bit on the Coochie style, with which they did not put in their title, but they did have Grandpacore as well as Cabincore, and then that one sold for almost $100. And then this is a Irish brand, J.L. Powell. And this is a cardigan button up, and that one sold for $50 with that keyword Grandpacore. This is another cardigan here. This is called Pringle Sports. It is 100% wool. It says made in British Hong Kong, which is interesting. And then that is what that one looks like with those pockets. That's very reminiscent of this Grandpacore style. And again, they use Grandpacore as well as Cabincore, and that one sold for $165. This next one is the jacket that I mentioned that goes with that Grandpacore look. Again, it's got those pockets there across the front. And let me see if I can get a tag photo on this one. I'm not sure what's going on my computer. So Zero King is what this one is called. And then that is a US brand made in the USA. That one sold for $50 with that keyword Grandpacore. If you're looking for really solid brands when it comes to men's clothing, then you're going to want to check out my Big Money Brands men's guide. It's well over 150 different brands, complete with done-for-you research. You even get all of those photos of the tags so you know exactly what to look for. I will link to that over here. The next aesthetic that we're going to be looking at is Varsity. And this is one that can be used for some different features on materials like stripes that you're seeing here in that cardigan sweater, as well as varsity style lettering. This is a pair of sweatpants from Ralph Lauren. It's got some varsity lettering down the leg, and that pair sold for $80. This is a jacket from Steve and Barry's. That's what the tag looks like there. It's a bomber, and it's got just that H there on the front chest, as well as hickory on the back. That one, you're seeing bomber as well as varsity. That one sold for $75. This is from Bum Equipment. There's what the tag looks like there, and that's a jacket, and it has those stripes around the collar, the bottom, as well as the cuffs. It says Bum there on the front, and that one sold for $50. The next aesthetic is called Gorpcore. Now, Gorp is the trail mix that people eat when they're out for a hike. And that's where this aesthetic got its name. So it's really all about the outdoors, the outdoor look. And you're going to see, everything from shoes, vests, pants, pullover, fleece pullovers, shirts, anything that has that kind of outdoorsy look to it. So everything you're seeing here are really good examples of that Gorpcore. There's even a bag there with Gorpcore in that. That's diesel. I want to point that out for a second because that one sold for $90. This is a vest from Nautica. So there's the tag for you. And then there is what that vest looks like. It has all those cargo pockets there on the front. And then that one sold for almost $60 with that Gorpcore keyword. This is from Columbia. This is just kind of their basic older style of jacket. And then that one sold for $35 with Gorpcore there in the title. This is from Cabela's. This is a down vest. And then that one sold for about $40, again, using that Gorpcore keyword. And a couple pairs of pants to be able to show you. This is from Aeropostale, so you can see it's an older tag with this item. They're actually what are called parachute pants. So you can see that here in the title, parachute, as well as Gorpcore and Y2K. Those sold for $30. And then this is a brand that's called Gramici. This is a really good brand when it comes to vintage items. So Gramici, you'll also see USA there. And then this one, pair of pants, that's what that looks like. That one sold for $30 using those keywords of Gorpcore and then Y2K. This next one is one of my favorites, and this is a keyword called Thrashed because there's some crazy things selling. And this is basically a mashup of thrifted and trashed shoved together and called Thrashed. And I'm going to show you some of these items. We're going to take a look at that one too, because that is crazy for how there's more holes in this, I think, than shirt, right? You can see that's basically completely torn apart. The neckline is barely there. There's not even really a tag to be able to show you with this one, but that sold for $90. You know, again, not sure even what brand that is. This is a pair of Carhartt. There's lots of Carhartt selling with this keyword. It's got, you know, definite stains. There's the tag there for you on that one. Definite stains as well as paint. And then that one sold for $50. It is a union made item, so you can see that on the back of the tag on the item. But I wanted to show this jacket because there's lots of Carhartt jackets selling as well, but this is actually a JCPenney brand jacket that just kind of has that similar look to Carhartt. Not the best picture there of the tag, and obviously has paint on it. That one sold for $70. You're seeing that keyword there in the title of Thrashed. This is another example. Again, you know, I could go on and on with Carhartt, but this is from the brand Lee. And there's a patch on these jeans as well as holes, all kinds of paint, all kinds of stains. And there was a best offer accepted. They were listed at $130, but I went ahead and looked that up and they sold for $90, which is kind of crazy considering the brand and the condition that they're in. This is actually one of the high profit keywords that you're going to find inside of the keywords that sell guide. This has 80 keywords in it, but then it has specific ones where there's high profit, where items are selling for crazy amounts just based off of keywords like this. So I'm going to link to that over here if you're interested in finding out those other high profit keywords. This next keyword is Aviator. This works really well for jackets. And then of course, sunglasses like what you're seeing. And then I have a couple items to show you here. This is a Wilson's leather jacket. It's got some fur there around the neck as well as at the bottom. And then that jacket sold for $120. This is another bomber kind of aviator style jacket. And this is, you can see the brand name there. It's Mirage is what that's called. Definite bomber style with this jacket. And then that one sold for almost $70. And you're seeing the keywords here in the title of, you know, bomber, of course, as well as aviator, motorcycle. I'm not sure, you know, if it technically fits in that steampunk. I probably wouldn't have used that keyword. Definitely aviator. This next one is goth or gothic. And this can fit a lot of different items. This is definitely a dark look. There's also lots of band tees selling with this. If you scroll on through here, you're going to see Led Zeppelin, a lot of different bands that are selling. And I wanted to show you this one. This is called Hybrid Apparel. And I actually went ahead and looked up this brand, but this is just a hoodie zip up. And that one sold for $114. So I went ahead and looked up this brand to see what else is selling. Here's another one that sold for $100. It's got a skull there on the front. And some more sales down here for kind of just a random brand, but definitely a Y2K look to those. And then Gothic could be a good keyword to fit items like that. You don't have to go with that brand, but if you come across, you know, other brands that have this kind of similar look of hoodies or zip up jackets, go ahead and pick them up. And if you have the right keywords like Gothic, definitely Y2K, go ahead and throw those in. And there's a demand for these types of items. This is a brand that's really kind of based around the Gothic look. And it's called Trip NYC. So this is an example of a pair of shorts. You're going to see a lot of metal hardware with these, you know, those loops there as well as chains. Those are just some examples of the types of metal hardware you'll see with this. But this sold for $130. This is a really solid brand for men as well as women. This next aesthetic-based keyword is what is called normcore. And so I had looked this up a while back, and I think that the definition said something like an ode to the everyday person, the normal person. And these are just kind of normal everyday clothes is what this aesthetic is all based around. You're seeing, you know, a lot of solids, some stripes, but just kind of basic items is what I would call them. This is a pair of jeans from the
the Gap, a little bit older pair of jeans. You see a little bit of wear in the knee, and then that one sold for $29 using Normcore there in the title. A quick reminder that eBay, as well as other platforms, do also search the description, so make sure you put keywords in your descriptions as well. This is a sweater from American Eagle. There's the tag there, a little bit older style tag, and just a basic striped shirt. That one sold for $30 using the keywords nautical, which is also a really good keyword, as well as academia and then normcore. This is a pair of just jeans, and that one sold. This is from Joe's Jeans. Let me see if I can get the brand tag there for you. That one sold for $30 using the keywords preppy, normcore, as well as dad. This next aesthetic that we're going to look at is hipster, and this can cover a huge variety of different types of looks, different types of items. So I did pull up some examples for you here of hipster style outfits. So you can see that there's just this huge variety of different items that you could actually use this keyword for, and it would fit. But this is really about looking different than normal. Of course, a lot of people are looking different than normal, so they end up all looking the same. But this is really kind of the opposite of normcore. This is a really good example of some prints here. Here's a sweater here. So these are things just different than maybe normal. This pair of jeans does work with the look, even though it could maybe go along with that normcore where it's just maybe a normal pair of jeans, but if it's paired with the right outfit, then it could have that hipster look to that. So this is from the brand Diesel, and then those sold for $39. This is a sweater that could also use that Grandpacore keyword with it, but it's a good reminder that there is a lot of overlap. There's no necessarily right or wrong when it comes to keywords, and again, I recommend using 3 to 5 keywords with every listing. So there's that sweater, and then that one sold for $30 using that keyword hipster. And then plaid and flannel really go well with that hipster look. So I'd go ahead and use that for any shirts like this that are, a button up. This is from LL Bean, and then that one sold for $35. LL Bean's a really solid brand. If you're looking for brands that sell quickly, then you're going to want to look at my fastest selling brands guide. I'm going to leave a product card over here for that if that's something that you're interested in. The next aesthetic is skater, and this works really well for a lot of pants. Shorts, anything that's baggy, that's going to be a really good keyword for those. And you can certainly use it for shirts. You're seeing a couple different shirts in here where they did use that keyword. This is a pair of Levi's men's jeans. They're a 505, and then those sold for $56 using that keyword here of skater. And then this is a brand that I'm not familiar with. Renewin possibly is what these are. Definitely baggy, and it got a few holes in them. Those sold for $50 with that skater keyword. And then this is the brand Stussy. These are just a basic pair of shorts. It looks like they've got a little bit of a pinstripe there on them. And then those sold for $60. And this one doesn't actually even have a brand tag that was taken a picture of. So I'm going to assume that it's kind of just a random brand. Definitely wide leg. It's got those stars going on, as well as some fraying and distressing. And then those sold for $50. They did put Jinko style, but they're not Jinko brand. And then this is a pair of shorts. It's called Woo Wear. There's the tag there for you. And then this is what the shorts look like. They're pretty well, worn, frayed. And then those sold for $80 with the keyword skater as well as Jinko, which could be a little bit on the keyword spamming side of using another brand because it's not that brand. This is a really interesting one. This is actually a sale from today as I'm filming this video, and this is Faded Glory. And this is what the jeans look like, wide leg, baggy, and then those sold for $45 for a Walmart brand. This next aesthetic is the biker aesthetic, and we could actually kind of clump this all together with motorcycle as well as moto. The eBay search engine is actually smart enough, so if I type in biker, it's actually going to bring back listings where the term moto or motorcycle is used because they're all related, and it knows that if somebody's looking for biker, they're probably also looking for, say, example, this one here where it says motorcycle. They may also be interested in any listings where it says motorcycle in the title. This is an example of a Wilson's leather biker style jacket. There's the tag there, and then that one sold for $65. This is a pair of boots, and of course there's lots of Harley Davidson selling with these keywords, but I did pick some other maybe less obvious ones. This is UGG, the brand UGG, and then you can see that they used moto boots, and they may have used some more here in the theme. So good reminder that those item specifics, those are keywords. So fill out as much of those as you can. It says biker as well as motorcycle, and then for some reason college. I'm not exactly sure how that one fits, but that one sold for $90. And another pair of shoes here, you're seeing that buckle across that, so that's why moto or motorcycle or biker, it works well for this pair of shoes. And then those sold for $110, and those are from the brand Diesel. This next keyword is grunge, and this kind of all started from Nirvana and Kurt Cobain. We're going to take a look actually at that t-shirt right there, but this is a keyword that can cover a lot of different items. A lot of these do have a lot of wear, maybe fraying and stains along with them. There's a pair of jeans here. You can see the fraying there. Those sold for $100. This is that Nirvana t-shirt that sold for over $1,200. It is single stitch, so I'm going to get a sleeve shot here to be able to show you what a single stitch looks like. It's a little bit different than modern day construction of garments. There's the tag, and then there's what that t-shirt looks like, $1,250. So I had to show that one. This is a really good one that fits with that grunge look. This is from a brand that's called Tearaway. It's a jacket. That one sold for about $34. This is a good example where the seller actually used the keywords in the description rather than the title, but it still pulls those keywords when buyers are searching. So they used hipster, grunge, outdoor, 80s, classic, 90s, and retro. Really good example of choosing keywords that fit and not spamming. Spamming is only going to hurt your ranking and search results. So don't include a huge list of keywords. Only include the ones that actually apply. This is a t-shirt from a brand that's called Bad Boy. There's what that shirt looks like. And that one sold for about $40. And then this is a more modern item, not a vintage item, from an Urban Outfitter brand called BDG. And you can see that it's got some holes, some ripping there, fraying. That one sold for $48 using that keyword down here in the description of grunge. This is another good jacket that fits with that grunge look. It has a little bit of kind of staining, darkening to this. It's called Duck's Back. And this one did have a best offer accepted. This brand is selling well. I did look more into this brand, but I looked up this item specifically. There's a little bit of a discrepancy here just because of the apostrophe. So it looks a little bit different, but it's that same exact item. And it's showing that the sold price was actually $70. So it is very possible that a buyer offered $70. I've even had buyers offer over the best offer price. So it does look like that it did sell for that full asking price. Now, if you're looking for brands that are the most profitable, I've actually taken my big money brands library and then compiled the highest dollar items, highest dollar brands inside of this most profitable brand guide. I'm going to link to that over here. This next aesthetic is a little bit more obvious one, and this is the Hawaiian or Aloha. You'll often see those terms used interchangeably. Surfer can be another really good keyword to use with these items. This is a Lands End men's button-up shirt that has that Hawaiian look, Aloha look. That one sold for $30. This is a Paradise Found. It does say Hawaii on it, so that's a good reminder anytime you see Hawaii on a tag or made in Hawaii. That's a good indication that that item's going to sell for a little bit more money. That one went for $40. And then this is an Ocean Pacific men's button-up Hawaiian shirt. There's what that looks like. And then that one sold for $35. The next keyword is Y2K. This one is huge right now, trending so big for both men as well as women. And I could spend so much here because there's just so many different styles. I actually do have a video where I go in depth to all of the different styles within Y2K. I'm going to link to that up here. But there's so many different styles. You're going to see baggy wide leg jeans. You're going to see graphic tees. You're going to see different types of jackets, different types of sweaters, all different sorts of things that are selling that have that Y2K look. And I go through in that video how to be able to recognize those and identify them, because they can be some really profitable items. So this is a t-shirt here. It's got a skeleton and flames on it, which was big from that era. This is from No Fear, which is a Y2K brand that's really trending right now. And this t-shirt sold for almost $120. This is a zip-up hoodie from the brand Echo, which is a Y2K brand that is trending. If you're interested in more Y2K specific brands, I'm going to link to that up here, but that one sold for $50. And then this is from Polo Ralph Lauren. This is just kind of a rugby style shirt, but really a lot of these rugby shirts are selling. It really does fit with that Y2K look. You're going to see that there in the title. And that one sold for $50.
Now, everything that we've been through up to this point has been broader styles and aesthetics, but this next one is where it gets really specific. Here's what you need to know. Sometimes it only takes one keyword to completely change how an item performs. In this next section, I'm showing you the one keyword that can help you make more money.
So what I've done is I've gone through and done some research on Poshmark as well as eBay to be able to show you sold items that are using this keyword that we're talking about. And this keyword is trending in multiple places, and it will apply to other platforms. If you're selling on Depop or Mercari or Facebook Marketplace, people are looking for this keyword there as well. So this first item that we're looking at is from a brand that's called Jessica London. It is a size 18, so that is one thing that does help sometimes with lower end brands or no name brands is those bigger sizes. And so the keyword that we're talking about for this video is the keyword mob wife. So you're going to see that in the title of most of these items. Some of the items will have it in the description. And when you're searching whatever platform that is, eBay or Poshmark or Mercari, the search engines will actually pull keywords from the description as well. So if you don't have room in the title, you can always put it down there in the description. But I just want to throw out that reminder because if you don't happen to see it here in the title, it is in the description. Most of these are in the title though. So this is Jessica London. And with this one, this is a trench coat and it's also animal print. And this is really indicative of the mob wife trend. I'm going to be showing you some different looks that can fit with this, but animal print, any kind of trench coat, that is really going to be a good item to use this keyword for. So that one sold for $35. Now this is an item that's actually unbranded. They did put a brand in here as source unknown, but it's actually unbranded. It actually does have a split in the seam as well. So here is this item, not the best of pictures with this one. There's a little bit better picture there. So you can see it's a bodycon as well as it has some ruching around the side of it. And then that sold for $30 without it being any particular brand. This is another item where the brand tag is missing. And this is just a black fur coat and it does have a little bit of an animal print to it. It is a little bit more subtle because it is a black on black, but hopefully you can kind of make that out there with the texture of this item. And so that one sold for $45. This one is a good brand, Donnybrook, but there's definitely certain items that are going to sell for more than others. And so with this one, this is a faux fur coat. So here is what it looks like. And that one sold for $90. This is a brand, I'm going to zoom in on that Dubrowski and Pearl Binder. I have not heard of this one before. Definitely a more vintage tag. And this is more of a shortcut jacket, a shrug. And there's what that looks like. That one sold for $30. Then this is at Abercrombie and Fitch, and this is a brand that can be hit or miss. There's items that do really well that sell for, hundreds of dollars, and then there's other items that don't sell for quite as much. And so this is where one place where keywords can really help with aesthetic, those style-based keywords. And so again, mob wife is the one that we're looking at. And this is a faux fur jacket. That one sold for $65. This one is new with tags. So I do want to point that out. Pretty much everything else I think I've got in this video is pre-owned condition. I did see another similar Abercrombie and Fitch faux fur that was new with tags that sold for around $120. So this is a brand that's called Bad Apple. Unfortunately, they don't have a good picture of this one, but this is another faux fur item. This is not, animal print, but it's still a good item to use that mob wife keyword with. That one sold for $50. Another faux fur, but this one happens to be from Zara. Again, that's another hit and miss brand, kind of like Abercrombie and Fitch. There's some items that do really well, and then maybe most don't. So this one did sell for $96. This is Monterey Fashions, and there were several of this brand selling with this mob wife. So be on the lookout for this brand when you're going for that mob wife aesthetic. And this is an animal print faux fur coat. That one sold for $40. This is a Jones of New York, which is typically a brand that I recommend more steering clear of. There's, certain items that you may want to pick up. And this would be an example of one of them, depending on how much, you pay for this. It sold for $35. So if you could pick it up for $5, but it's definitely about the look with this, with that collar, as well as that faux fur. And this is one, that does fit that mob wife keyword very well. This is a brand De Launay. I'm guessing this is a leather item. So that is what it looks like. It's just black leather. And then that one sold for $45. I do want to point out that they use some other keywords in here in addition to my mob wife, one being e-girl, alternative alt is what that is, goth, and punk. This one is another faux fur item, but it's actually a vest and it's actually pink. So it's not black, it's not brown, it's not animal print. Show you what it looks like here in a second, but this is what that unreal fur tag looks like. So there it's pink, very long fur. And this is another one where they did stack up on those keywords. So I actually do recommend using 3 to 5 keywords, aesthetic, style based keywords in your listing to be able to get them in front of the right buyers. Don't spam, don't use keywords that don't apply, but really go for those ones that fit the look. And this is an example of that where they used mob wife as well as Barbie as well as Clueless. And there's a couple more down here in the description where it says bubblegum and then kidcore. So all of those do fit this item pretty well. So that one sold for $50. So this is an item from the brand Guess. This is another one that is a very hit or miss brand. A lot of items don't sell for that much, but if you know the right keywords, if you know the right styles that people are shopping for, which is what these aesthetics are, then that can be money. So this is what this one looks like. It's got that animal trim around the collar as well as the sleeves, and then that one sold for $89. This is a good brand to be on the lookout for. Definitely a bolo when it comes to brands. This is called Redone. If you have not seen that tag before, there it is. This is actually a cropped jacket. And it does have that animal print. So they used mob wife with this one, and that one sold for $135. This is a New York and company. So for me, this would be what I would consider more of a lower end, lower resale value is the way I should probably put that. And this is another jacket that has that trim around the collar as well as a little bit at the cuffs. And then that one sold for $82. This is a Buffalo David Bitton. So there's the tag there. If you haven't seen that, pretty mainstream brand. And the jacket there, it does have a belt around the middle of that. That one sold for $54. This is Calvin Klein, another one of those brands to be careful with and to really go after styles with that brand. And so this one sold for $31. This is a bodycon or sheath dress. It does look like it's a little bit more tighter fitting, so I probably would have gone with maybe bodycon for this one. And so that one sold for $31 using that mob wife aesthetic keyword. Another Donnybrook item, and so this one sold for $200. There is what this one looks like. Absolutely beautiful, long length faux fur coat. Another Jones New York item, and another one of those brands that I kind of really try to be careful with because most items are not worth very much as far as a resale value of them. So this is a faux fur brown tannish color, and then that one sold for $50. This is a black faux fur from Y2K era. This is a brand that is called Mix It. And here's what this one looks like. That one sold for $65 with that mob wife keyword. Wilson's leather trench coat. So this can be another type of item that you can fit in with that mob wife aesthetic. I'll show you that what it looks like here in a second, but they did use some other keywords in here too as whimsy goth as well as grunge. So you'll see those there in the title, but this is what this coat looks like. So it's just a longer length black leather, coat. This is another Wilson's leather. This is their line that's called Pele Studio. There we go. So you can hopefully see that there on the tag underneath Wilson's leather where it says Pele Studio. This is another little bit longer length black leather coat. And then that one sold for $68. I also want to point out that they used a keyword old money. So that can be another keyword that fits with some of these items. This is another lower resale value brand, Worthington. And then this is the tag there zoomed in. Here's what that jacket looks like. And that one sold for $33. Again, with that animal print. Anything animal print, those items usually scream mob wife. This is actually a suit dress. So you can see that it's double breasted, but this one did fit with the mob wife aesthetic, I believe. And so there is the Tahari tag, and that one sold for $60. Now, I do want to take a second to invite you to my membership, the Empowered Reseller. This is where I'm personally able to connect with members. I'm able to answer questions. I'm able to even do things like store reviews, account reviews, listing reviews for my members. And it comes with a huge course vault as well as a supportive community. And I would love to be able to welcome you into our community soon. This next item is from the brand Cachet, which can be a good item to come across. And this is a bodycon that is an animal print. It also has that V-neck, which can be really reminiscent of this mob wife look. And then that one sold for $30. This is a brand that's called Venus. And let me show you what this dress looks like. So it's kind of a double look with this one, where it's the animal print on the top, two-tone is what they called it. So animal print on the top and then solid attached skirt with that. That one sold for $30 with that aesthetic keyword. This is ASOS, which is another brand to be careful with. And if you can pair it up with one of these keywords that buyers are shopping for, that can be a way to be able to get more money for this brand. So this is another bodycon tight-fitting dress, and it is that animal print. So if you come across, that bodycon as well as animal print, that's really where a good place to use that mob wife keyword. This is a dress where they actually didn't have animal print, but it's still a bodycon. They went ahead and used the mob wife keyword anyway. They did spell it wrong there, but it was spelled right there down in the description. And this is from Diesel. So there's the tag. You can make out here that it is a mesh overlay with this dress. So it's just a basic black dress pretty much, besides for that mesh. Does have that bodycon fit, and then that one sold for $30 with that aesthetic. This is another new with tags item, so I had just a couple of these in here, but I had to show this because this is from Express, which is a brand that, it's again another one of those hit or miss, whether they do well or not. And with this one, they did use mob wife down in the description, and you won't see it up there in the title, but it is there in the description, and search engines will search for that. So this is just a velvet off the shoulder dress with kind of a twist detail there at the neckline. That one sold for $50. This is International Concepts, typically a brand that does not sell for much, but because of the keywords that were used, in particular the mob wife keyword, this one sold for $43. And you're going to see that down here in the description that they used mob wives office career work. And so there is what that dress looks like. It's a button down dress. So $43. This is a brand, Dame Inc. And I'm not super familiar with this one, but it does seem to be a fairly good brand. If you come across this, I'll show you here in a second. But with this one, this is just an animal print two-piece set. So it's a top as well as the matching jacket. That one sold for $36. So I did go ahead and pull up sold items from this brand on Poshmark. And they can be pretty good prices. So we got, anywhere from $20. The one we just looked at, I think, is this one, $50, $36, $28, $36, $25. So keep your eye out for this one, $39, $30. Especially with these more unusual. So there's one down here that is a new with tags. That one sold for $79. Topshop, definite hit or miss brand. and again, pays to know keywords when it comes to brands like this. So here is this one. It's not animal print, but it does have that metallic gold finish to this item. And then that one sold for $30. It also has a peplum hem on it, as well as deep V-neck, which can really go with that mob wife aesthetic look. This is an item from Chico's, which is another one brand that I consider kind of hit or miss, or maybe a lower resale value. And so this is their line that is called Easy Wear. So the tag there says Easy Wear by Chico's. And this is an animal print. So anytime you have an animal print, that can be a really good indication to go ahead and throw in that mob wife keyword. They also used Rockabilly, which I'm not sure if that one quite fits. That one sold for $30. This is Guess Jeans. It's another brand that a lot of items don't sell for a lot, but when you know what to look for, when you know the right keywords and the styles that people are shopping for, it can really help. So this one sold for $35. And it is a halter top, and that is pretty reminiscent of Y2K. So you'll see that there in the title as well. This next one is from White House Black Market. Again, another brand that you really need to know what styles are selling to be able to get the most money for the item. Otherwise, a lot of items aren't really worth picking up. So this is just a simple tank top that happens to have that animal print. They use mob wife. That one sold for $30.
Now, if there's one thing that I want you to take away from this, it's that you don't need better brands. You need a better way to see what's right in front of you, because when you understand the styles that sell, you don't just find a few good items. You open up way more to opportunities every time you're looking through clothes. If you'd like help with this and a community of other people to do this with, the Empowered Reseller is linked below. But stick around, because I've got a video up next for you covering a category that most resellers are missing out on. And they're missing out on a lot of profit. So just click or tap the screen, and I'll see you there.